last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change, yeah. On me. Tell them that's life, yeah, it's still love it. I'm taking a shot for my enemies. I can't waste no more time on my energy. I know they know I got it on lock. Go against me, that's a long shot. Cause I'm counting wins all around the clock. Never doubt me, boy, I don't stop. Who do you feel when they make you the monster? I am not scared of none of you imposters. Taking the lead now while they watching. Think you should leave now while the options. Taking no else, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. I'm running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down, no.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast powered by Mellow Seltzer. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Minnesota Timberwolves, and it represented yet another opportunity for a season sweep. Now, Cleveland entered tonight with 6 of those already on this season. Tonight, they would get their 7th, which already ties the amount they had last year. Think about that for one fucking second. They already have as many season sweeps during the regular season, granted, as they had all of last year. That's big time. But tonight also represented the debut of Cleveland's shiny new piece, DeAndre Hunter. I know that's what you're all here to talk about. And holy shit, Cavs fans, I was really, and I mean really excited about this dude's debut. Honestly, more excited than I think I've been in a long time for any Cavalier debut. This just feels like the piece that is going to get them over the top. I can't quantify it in terms of stats. I can't really describe it with any combination of words. It just feels right. And I think that after we have a discussion tonight, you guys are going to feel exactly as I do. Now, it's one thing to receive that hype, but it's a whole other thing to actually live up to it. And so the question is, did he? And ultimately, how did he do tonight? Well, I think he did. I think he lived up to it. I think he killed it in a pretty low stakes environment, albeit, there's no pressure tonight. It wasn't perfect. It was by no means a perfect debut, but I will take this all the live long day. Hunter came in as the NBA's leading bench scorer, averaging 18.9 points when coming off the bench. And the question that was on everybody's minds up to just a few hours before tonight's festivities were to begin was whether or not Hunter would resume his role off the bench for Cleveland as he did in Atlanta. And just so you all are aware, or rather for your context, these are Hunter's averages as a starter versus as a reserve. And for those of you who may be listening or streaming via audio, I got you. I ain't never going to leave you out hanging. Hunter is averaging 19.5 points, 5.8 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and 1 steal with shooting splits of 47.2%, 48.3%, and 93.3%. That is damn good. And he had a record of 3-1 prior to tonight as a starter. Bumped that up to 4-1. Conversely, he is putting up 18.9 points, 3.7 rebounds, and 1.5 assists with splits of 46%, 38.1%, and 85.1%, and had a record of 15-18. That is coming off the bench with Atlanta. So I will forgive him for that record. So obviously, you can see that quite honestly, it really does not matter where he is, whether he's starting or whether he's coming off the bench. He has been impactful nevertheless. that still would not stop fans like myself, and I'm sure a number of you out there, from wondering where and what he would begin his debut doing, right? And I don't know about you guys, but I got a little anxious, but in a good way, when it was reported by numerous sources that Max Strus was questionable entering tonight, which left the possibility of Hunter starting even more open, right? But here's the thing. The Cavs, who were still down Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro, it was also reported that if they really needed them back, they could have, but I think they're playing it cautiously, which is the right move. Let's just get that. Let's put that in the open. Let's make that clear. But they still do not yet have a true option at backup big. It's Jaylon Tyson, it's Tristan Thompson, and minute staggering of Evan Mobley and Allen right now. So keeping Hunter, who has played 49% of his minutes this season at power forward, on the bench as the team's first sub for Mobley or Allen would have also been an understandable move. And this is a major reason, honestly, why I would like to see the Cleveland Cavaliers go out there and make a move for a third big, simply to address that when we have situations like that. Didn't fucking matter tonight, but it could in the long run, as the Cavaliers have 10 days or so to meet the 14-player requirement. But with all that being said, right, throw all that shit out the window, because about 1 hour before tip-off, Strus was officially ruled out, and Hunter got the start, his 5th of the year, and man, it did not disappoint. It was a good thing, because on the other side stood a very, and I mean very, talented player in his own right in Anthony Edwards, who Hunter has spent a lot of time defending over the years. Now, I did you guys a favor, and I did pull the defensive statistics in the matchups between the two. They are as follows. In 8 career matchups prior to tonight, DeAndre Hunter has, and I use this word quite loosely, limited Anthony Edwards to 19 of 41, which is 46.3% from the field, including 9 of 23, which is 39.1% from three-point distance, in 8 career matchups prior to tonight, all of which coming when he was a member of the Atlanta Hawks, obviously. Now, after what you saw tonight, from a defensive standpoint, I don't really know how you could be worried. There was a lot of fans out there that were truly worried. And don't you worry, I do have some defensive clips to show. Roll them now. There is nothing in my mind that worries me anymore about watching Anthony Edwards and DeAndre Hunter's defensive abilities. Now, in watching Edwards match up with Hunter tonight, a couple of things became abundantly clear to me. One, Anthony Edwards is a 2, right? DeAndre Hunter is a 3 or 4, depending upon where you need to play him at. He is positionally versatile that way, but he is by far at his best defending true 3s and 4s. But as you can see, Hunter can do it all from a defensive standpoint. He is quick enough and long enough to offer proper contests. He is knowledgeable enough out there to know where certain guys are going to be. He has a habit of going under the screen a lot. I've noticed that in watching some of his defensive, some of his defensive clips and whatnot, and watching him out in isolation. He will go under the screen at times. When he does go over, though, as you're seeing right here, he can absolutely give a speedier guy in Anthony Edwards some trouble. And obviously it was a foul call right there that you see. But if you watched him closely tonight, you can tell this guy has it. Again, it was not a perfect forced turnover right there because of the length that he presents. It's such a challenge for shorter players like Edwards. And Edwards is not a short guy, but but Hunter just has that length out there, man. I think 7'2" wingspan. Insane. Staying right in front of him, quick enough to backpedal, being in great position to make sure that Anthony Edwards is taking a contested triple. That's exactly what you want to see. And even in plays like this, where he gets beat for a very, very makeable attempt at the rim, you should still feel really, really good about the defensive standing of one DeAndre Hunter. This, my friends, was a magnificent start to DeAndre Hunter's career on the defensive end. Now, in the first quarter or so, Anthony Edwards was in hell. Let's just keep it a buck. Let's keep it a $150. He was held scoreless, 0 of 6 from the field with DeAndre Hunter as his primary defender before Hunter picked up 2 early fouls. You know, a little handy out there, but it was to be expected. It wasn't, again, it's not a perfect performance on either end, but I loved what I saw out there because he truly gives you the length that you needed out of that position. And make no mistake, Dean Wade, he is capable of doing some of the same things from a defensive standpoint, but he doesn't offer the same type of package that that Hunter does offensively. Hunter is basically the best of both worlds in that regard. He is a true 3-and-D, or he has the capability to be a 3-and-D. Didn't necessarily look that way in Atlanta all the times, but playing alongside Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, having that terrific backline of defense, being that he is a former collegiate defensive player of the year in the ACC, it's there. And I am willing to bet you guys that Kenny Atkinson brings that type of player back out. That first quarter defense was phenomenal. It was stellar. And he stayed glued. He was attached to Anthony Edwards' hip. There are a number of possessions at which I just felt like Edwards was in straight up hell early on. Beautiful debut from that of DeAndre Hunter on the defensive end. Now, in terms of offense, because we all know, he's coming in. He's a new guy. He's just trying to get his feet wet. He's trying to understand where he is supposed to be at from a positioning standpoint. He hasn't had much time to acclimate to the, to the playbook, right? He's been out there. He's been trying to practice, but that's only going to do so much. It's going to take a little bit of time for him to gel with the rest of these guys. He was clearly trying to figure it out, and it felt like most of the time that he had early on was spent in the corners, and his lone attempt early on was inside, from inside, was off of a drive that was quickly rejected by shot blocker extraordinaire Rudy Gobert. And I do have some of the offensive clips queued up here for you guys. Yeah, I don't know. I forgot to cut the audio out of that, obviously, but I'll tell you this. It was something that you saw from him from an offensive standpoint. I'm going to see if I can pull those back up. But from a offensive standpoint, what you saw out of DeAndre Hunter tonight was a lot of catch and shoot attempts. Well, not necessarily a lot of catch and shoot attempts. He was left open for a solid number of attempts out there tonight in the corners, and I thought that he did his best to try and knock those down. One of the ones that he had in the early going was a pull-up triple from above the break, which is by far the shot that he takes the most. To me, that is where he can affect the game the most. But at the end of the day, you do need him to take those corner triples and make those corner triples. I have no doubt in my mind that he can do that. I think I have the statistics here pulled up still from how well he shoots versus how well he doesn't shoot when in those corners. But I'm not really truly worried about the ability there. I think it will come in time. I think you just have to be patient in regards to that. He clearly has an ability to put the ball on the floor and drive inside, as you clearly saw him tonight, get to the basket, draw a couple of fouls in the painted area. And I think that will only get better in time as he knows where guys are going to be at all times on the court. To me, that was about all I expected on the offensive end. I just really wanted him to get acclimated to the offense that this team tends to run. It is not every day of the week that you get a debut like this. A guy shows you that he has serious 3-and-D potential out there, and it did help the Cavaliers end up scoring 128 points. This tonight, from an efficiency standpoint, the Cavaliers were running on, operating on all cylinders. 51% from the floor, 40% from 3-point distance, 75% at the line. I can forgive. They did miss 5 free throws, but when you talk about the way that the ball was moving out there, they had 27 total assists to Minnesota's 17. It just felt like Minnesota was far too reliant upon offensive creation in isolation from Anthony Edwards, who was shut down for a large majority of tonight's game. I don't think that when you look back on this game, when you watch the film on this game, I do not think, if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, you're not going to feel really good about the the type of performance that was given tonight. And you can put that on you could put that on anything out there, right? Tonight, yeah. I see people commenting here about JT Thor. JT Thor does have a concussion right now. That is why he is not out there, by the way. But yes, Hunter, man, so defensively and positionally versatile. I was just excited about the game that he showcased tonight. And he wasn't even the big draw tonight. That was just that's the gate attraction, right? Tonight, everybody was waiting to see what DeAndre Hunter would do in his debut. But honestly, he wasn't even the big draw tonight. Tonight, Evan freaking Mobley, man, 28 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 blocks, 2 steals, was a plus 15 out there, a very efficient 12 of 19 from the floor, including 1 of 4 from three-point range, 3 of 5 from the charity stripe. Let me tell you something. Evan Mobley, when he gets it up here in his head that I can take over this game, ain't nobody out here that can stop me, including, multiple time defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert, ain't shit you can do about that. Ain't shit you can do about that. When Evan Mobley is locked in and he is cooking you on both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball, because let's not get it twisted. There are bigs out there that just save it for the offense. There are bigs out there that can only give it to you on the defensive end, like a Rudy Gobert. Although Gobert, give him his respect. He is still averaging a double-double on the season. He has a very, very, what's the best way to put this? Steady. He's a steadying presence out there. You know what you're going to get from him on the defensive end. You know what you're going to get from him on the offensive end. But when Mobley locks in like he did tonight, there's just frankly not many people in this entire NBA that can match him, right? One-on-one. When Mobley wants it, that to me is when you are in danger, my friend. That is precisely when you are in danger is when Evan Mobley decides that he is going to lock in, as I'm loading these Hunter clips back up, hopefully trying to cut the audio back out. But man, this guy was just phenomenal. He led the way with 28 points tonight. I think he led he didn't lead all scores. He led all Cleveland scores because Anthony Edwards, despite the hell that he was put through with DeAndre Hunter locking him down throughout most of this game, he did end up scoring 44 total points, but it took him 28 shots to do so. And many of those attempts that he had that he actually made came when Hunter was either not in the game or when Hunter was not his primary defender. And obviously, he is a guy that can get inside and draw a ton of contact. He drew a ton of fouls tonight, attempted 13 total free throws, made 10 of those. If I'm not mistaken, that led all players by a wide margin. That's not necessarily something that you're going to be too pissed off about if you are the Cleveland Cavaliers, because you absolutely made him work for everything out there tonight. And he essentially had to play so much isolation ball out there. They relied upon him for so much creation that it really didn't matter. And as we often know, as is often the case with these high-level offensive talents, as long as you don't let the ancillary or secondary pieces in the role players cook you, you're good. You can live with Anthony Edwards going off. You can live with Anthony Edwards putting in work in that regard. You just don't want Anthony Edwards' teammates to do that. You don't want Rudy Gobert going off for a big game. You don't want Jaden McDaniels to do that. Naz Reid, he had a tough game tonight, and you can attribute a lot of that to Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. Naz Reid was finished with just 10 points in 35 minutes of action on a very inefficient 4 of 12 from the field, including 1 of 6 from three-point range. It was just a solid performance all the way around. And I know that I've only spoken in reference to Mobley and Hunter, but you got everything in this game. You got a big-time performance from Donovan Mitchell, who absolutely cooked Rudy Gobert on a number of offensive sequences. It was the turnaround jumpers where he absolutely caught Rudy Gobert slipping on a number of possessions. And it felt like it was sequential too. It was back to back to back to back, where you saw Mitchell just completely turn it on in that second half, and that in the latter stretches of the third and in the early stretches of the fourth quarter. You love it, man. You love to see it. And to know that you don't have to be so reliant as the Timberwolves are on Anthony Edwards, to know that just like last year, that was Cleveland for many stretches of the season where they were wholly reliant on the creation of Donovan Mitchell to win them games or to keep them in games. To know that you no longer have to be that type of team, that is just awesome. Just take that in. That is just awesome. Oh, D Jackson says, did you see when Mitchell crossed Alexander Walker? Not Walker. Oh my God. Alexander Walker then dunked on him. Yes, I actually have that clip if I can load it real quick. But man, I don't know how. Here it is right here. Did I actually rip the audio from it? I don't think I did. I think it does have the audio. So time will tell. We'll see. No, I did. Okay. Thank God. Look at this. Look at that shit, man. Just the way that he cocks it back, and I'm going to play it again. Jeez Louise. Look at that. Bam. Now, we all talk about how Donovan Mitchell has either lost a step or doesn't have the athleticism that he once had. Man, oh man. I don't think that's true. I don't think we can say that. I think he just simply conserves it. I think he says, hey, it's not needed for me to showcase this supreme athleticism game in and game out. But we have started to see him do this shit more and more often. I know we were all watching when he dunked on KP's ass. He said, D Jackson says, Mitchell said, take that. He absolutely did. Jay Quest says he's been dunking the last few games. Hell yeah, he has. He's been trying to show people and shut people up that he still has that athleticism. And though why he's still maybe dealing with some knee issues, he still clearly can get up there. It's just not necessary. It's not needed anymore all the time. You want him to play the way that he is playing most nights, right? Not having to be the focal point of the offense, getting guys involved, letting Evan Mobley develop, getting him those extra touches, playing and giving more and more effort on the defensive end. As the head of the proverbial snake, you want him to lead by example. And I think that most nights, even when he does not have the shot falling, he's done that. Right? He has led by example. He has let other guys get involved. He has tried to lift them up. He has gotten more touches to the likes of Evan Mobley and Darius Garland. He has played more and more off ball this season. He's doing all these things. He's stepped it up on the defensive end. And it's led to some of the best offensive basketball that you have seen with this Cleveland Cavaliers team. And I know that the common theme for people who don't watch the Cavaliers is they're looking at the statistics that Donovan Mitchell is putting up on the season, and they're nowhere close, at least from a points production standpoint, that he had last year. And they're like, oh, Donovan Mitchell's taking a step back. But that's not the case at all. Donovan Mitchell is just uplifting guys around him. He's also playing less minutes. That also takes away from some of the statistical production that you've seen from him. He came into tonight averaging 24 points, 4.3 rebounds, 4.7 assists, and shooting pretty efficient 45.1% from the field, which is right in line with his career average, which stands at 45%. And he is shooting 39.4% from three-point range. So he still has been more efficient than his career numbers indicate, 36.9% from range. He has still been playing some of the most efficient, effective basketball of his career. And obviously that's a huge reason why he is heading to the All-Star as a starter, right? And as Jalen Banks says down here, if you look up the per 36, he's having a career year. Absolutely. You can make that case for a number of Cavaliers. Evan Mobley, who even without looking at the per 36 is having a career year. Darius Garland, there's a number of guards in the Eastern Conference who have better numbers than him if you're looking at the per game statistics. But if you look per 36 for a number of these guys, it's career highs nearly across the board. So that's always a great point. And it wasn't just the big guys who showed out tonight, right? All starters scored in double figures, but you had a big-time performance from Ty Jerome, who continues to look like the sixth man of the year candidate that we all know that he can be. And without Karis LeVert on the roster anymore, you are basically expecting this level of production to remain consistent from Ty Jerome. And you know what? I think he's going to be able to pull it off because he is essentially your sixth man now. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Now when Dean Wade, Isaac Okoro and company return and the team settles on who is going to be the full-time starter at the 3, if they do at all, if they just keep it matchup dependent, I don't know. Personally, I think they should just let Hunter stay there. I think that he proved that he can do the best of both. What a lot of what the options off the bench tend to offer you. But I can certainly understand without having a true third big on the roster if you want to slide him back into that reserve role, or if you're going to allow Dean Wade to function as your third big full time when he returns. That said, though, Ty Jerome, man, just absolutely cooked tonight. 15 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 of 8 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3-point distance, 5 of 5 from the line. Finished tonight a plus 14. I know we all caught the sequence at the end. I think it was the end of the third or the end of the second where Jaylon Tyson knocks down the triple. Then Ty Jerome steals the ball and drills the triple right at the buzzer. It's phenomenal shit. I can't remember if that was the end of the half or the end of the third. I think it was the end of the third. But Tyson and not Tyson, Ty was just phenomenal tonight. And I think that as the season continues to go on, the 6th man of the year candidacy is only going to get stronger because he has put together a number of these performances this season. And I think it's only going to get better down the stretch here, man. And speaking of Jaylon Tyson, let me tell you something about Jaylon Tyson. The shot is not necessarily where you want it to be at. He would finish the game with 5 points on 2 of 4 from the field, but Jaylon Tyson's most impressive feat continues to be his ability to pull down offensive rebounds. Holy shit. This guy just gives it his all on the glass. 3 more offensive rebounds for Tyson tonight for a total of 5 rebounds. He continues to generate more and more offensive possessions out there. One thing that I've noticed about him is it's almost Zion-like. I'm not gonna make that comparison because that's not fair to Tyson. But we all know the quick, like that quick first jump after getting the rebound. He is so quick about getting that board and putting the shot back up. So he will either get you another offensive possession or he'll pull down the rebound and put it right back up, or he'll just tip it in. We've seen him do that a number of times this season. And at 6'5", 6'6", wherever you look, Tyson is listed at different numbers, different sizes and lengths wherever you look. But Tyson, despite his listed height, he plays above it. He's sort of Craig Porter Jr.-ish in that regard. He plays above his listed height. And Craig, he had a solid game tonight in his 17 minutes. Won't ever truly wow you from a statistical standpoint. It's still not the most efficient shooter out there, but I still love what you get from the reserves, especially Tyson and Craig Porter Jr. when they're pressed into action. We know that Ty, he's up there in terms of 6th man of the year candidacy. But Craig Porter Jr. and Tyson, what they give you when they are pressed into action, you need that, frankly. You need that type of talent. You need that type of drive. You need that type of impact on cheap, team-friendly, serviceable contracts, especially if you are the Cleveland Cavaliers who just acquired DeAndre Hunter. And now, although they subverted the luxury tax, they still need to get they still have to fill out the roster. They still have to get at least one more player to meet the league minimum requirement of 14. And if you guys did not check out the video that I posted earlier about some of the buyout candidates, I highly recommend doing so. There are some options out there that are available in that video. Some of them, since I've posted, have already signed somewhere, a la Daniel Tice. He's already been picked up by a team somewhere in Europe. One of the names that I did not put on the list, but has apparently backed out of his apparent interest, is Alex Len, who was supposed to sign with the Indiana Pacers, but I'm starting to feel like he saw what happened with Mark Williams in Charlotte, and that trade being rescinded because of the physicals, I think. And I think that he decided that he was going to go ahead and try his luck with the Lakers. I think that is where Lynn may end up going to. Now, the name on that list to me that made the most sense was Mo Bamba. There honestly are not a lot of good options out there, but of all the options that I would feel most confident in that have actually played solid NBA minutes, Mo Bamba's right up there. He's a frustrating player, but he still has the size. He still has that shot blocking ability. He can rebound and he can shoot the three ball. He has never been able to put it all together consistently, and that is why he has bounced around from team to team to team to team. He's literally played for 4 different teams already, despite being just 26 years old. But I think as a 14th, 15th man, just a pure depth piece, a third big, if you ever need somebody out there, break in case of emergency type player, Mo Bamba makes a lot of sense. Moses Brown is still out there. That's another option the Cavaliers are familiar with, played a certain stretch of games with them during the 2021-22 season where the Cavs were just injury riddled all year long. You guys all remember that, but Moses Brown, they have some familiarity with him. There's just a number of options out there that the Cavaliers can try and utilize to fill out that last 2 spots on the roster. And I know that there are rumblings of Pete Nance, who was in the Cavs facility today, returning at some capacity, whether that is with the Charge or being signed to a 10-day contract, or you never really truly know how these things are going to play out. But I can tell you this, I do think that it would make sense to bring back a Pete Nance, at least on a 10-day. I know a lot of people don't love the idea of that, but beggars cannot be choosers, and the market is no longer flush, right? Larry Nance Jr. has not been bought out yet. Chris Boucher has not been bought out yet. Clint Capella, to my knowledge, has not been bought out yet. So all of these are hypotheticals. Now, what I do believe is that Kobe Altman will likely will likely try and wait this out as long as he can. And now he has about 10 days because you have a 2-week window after you make that trade with DeAndre Hunter. You had the 2-week window, and it's already been a couple of days, right? So he only has 10 days left to get that. I don't know what they're going to do, but I know that they do kind of have some options out there. And hopefully they're able to get that taken care of. But man, this was just such a good debut from DeAndre Hunter. Do I have the offensive clips pulled up without the audio? I think I do. So this is some of what you saw out there. This is actually correct. Nope. I do not think though. I think so. I think this is still some of the defensive stuff out there. Yeah, that definitely ain't it. Man, oh man. Either way, it was just a phenomenal debut, man. Just a phenomenal debut. Could have been worse. Wasn't perfect, but it definitely showcased what he can do from an offensive and defensive standpoint. He can stay in front of his matchup out there. He has the length to contest. Even when he gets beaten, he can recover and make plays on the offensive end. He can knock down shots from the corners. He can knock down shots from above the break. He does have to move that ball a little bit more. I was a little worried about that, a little antsy in regards to that, because the book on DeAndre Hunter is that he is not the best mover of the basketball. He's not the best passer of the basketball, especially off of drives. Very few assists. I think 9 total assists off of his drives coming into tonight. He had at least 200 to 300. But at the end of the day, I think working alongside Kenny Atkinson and company, I think that is an area of his game you will probably see a massive improvement in. And I could not have asked for a more solid, start to a Cavalier career, right? To a Cavalier career out there than what DeAndre Hunter showcased tonight against one of the best offensive talents in basketball. Again, this, if you missed it in the early going, was DeAndre Hunter versus Anthony Edwards prior to tonight. 19 of 41, including 9 of 23 from 3-point range. And against a guy like Anthony Edwards, who's putting up 27 plus on the season, that's about as good as it gets. When you're talking about an Edwards stopper or a Tatum stopper or a Brown stopper, some of these wings out here that can give you a lot of trouble, that's pretty damn solid. And I thought the first quarter in its entirety kind of showed you what he can offer you. And hopefully that continues. I do not see a reason why it wouldn't. I remain very, very optimistic about his play moving forward. And I'm very curious to see some of the defensive lineups that Kenny Atkinson, once his team returns to full strength, can really throw at you. Because can you imagine some of the lineup viability that you have? Literally, you could, if you need a stop, if you need a stop at the end of a game, you need a couple of stops to string together. You can literally throw a lineup out there that features some of the best defenders that you have seen in this league. I mean, obviously, you need somebody to orchestrate. So just think about lineup like Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen, or Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade. You got DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley. There's just so much you can do from a viability standpoint, from a defensive aspect, as long as you have all of these guys healthy. And that is the key, because Dean, Isaac, even DeAndre, they have all had somewhat of an issue staying on the court for certain stretches. If you can keep at least two of them upright, I think you're cooking, man. And I think tonight showed you at least certain points that this Cavaliers team, there's another gear that they could potentially hit once they get DeAndre Hunter fully acclimated to the offensive system. Because on the defensive end, although he picked up 5 fouls tonight, I'm not mad at that. He was clearly trying. He was clearly trying to invest on that end, because it's been questionable. That's being nice. Hasn't been perfect from a defensive standpoint in Atlanta, but this guy certainly has the intangibles out there. You can't teach the size and length that he has in terms of the wingspan and the height. And as long as he's giving proper effort out there, clearly he can get it done. And he showcased that to you tonight. And he's a damn good shooter when he has it, right? Came into tonight shooting 39.3% from 3-point distance, if I'm not mistaken. And the bulk of that is on catch and shoot, right? And that's exactly what you need from him, whether that is above the break or out in the corners. He is a capable shot maker, and he may not necessarily be like a Max Strus volume type shooter, but he can get it done. And he can also drive, and he's athletic as hell. And that showcased itself on both ends of the floor. As there was one sequence where he had gone in, if I'm not mistaken, Anthony Edwards beat him for that layup, and then he runs down on the other end and draws a foul. Transition play, transition opportunities. I think in this Cavalier quick pace offense, where things are structured a very particular way, you got a lot of guys running out in the open floor. I think Hunter can really capitalize on that. And to me, we got a lot to look forward to in terms of DeAndre Hunter's play for the rest of the season. I think as of right now, the Cavaliers are now at 43-10. They have 29 games left. And I cannot wait to see this guy play against some of the premier matchups that the Cavaliers have. Now, Toronto, Brooklyn, they certainly do not categorize as such, but there are some big matchups coming up. They have a visit with the New York Knicks coming up on February 21st, the Memphis Grizzlies on the 23rd, February 25th makes a meeting with the Orlando Magic, and then the big one, another matchup with the Boston Celtics on February 28th. That's some big games coming up that feature some really good wings out there, or some high-level opponents from an offensive standpoint. So DeAndre Hunter is clearly going to be needed. Hopefully we get Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro back, and hopefully Kobe Altman is able to bring in at least one more body, hopefully, preferably a true big, but time will tell in that regard. I guess since I have not necessarily hopped into the comment section too much tonight, is the best time to do that. There's a shit ton of comments in here. Let me go ahead and start. Crofty says, Mac. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Crofty, if you're still in here. This was such a phenomenal debut. Such a good game from just about everybody out there. Michael Scoopska basically builds upon that. Says such a good game to go back into the break on. Hunter's first half defense before he got in foul trouble was exactly what this team needed. Kirk Davis says, once Hunter gets in rhythm of the system, we're going to be unstoppable. Teams hate going against us now. Just wait. Trust the process. He also says, we up next. Chewy says, our boys are helping Atlanta win down there as well. Good trade on both ends. Yeah. I mean, for anybody who took umbrage with the comments that George Niang or Karis LeVert made at their introductory press conference, shame on you, because all they were trying to say is that they're veterans who like to lead by example. They like to play. Ain't nothing wrong with that. People just be in their feelings. D Jackson says, great Cavs win. DJ says Hunter is a great fit. Go Cavs. I think so too. Eric Cosinaire says, once Minnesota got in a hole, there was no coming back with the offensive firepower. Edwards is a motherfucking problem. No, he is. But the great thing about it is, as long as you can live with him cooking, you can live with him going off, as long as you don't let the other guys do so. And that is exactly what did not occur tonight. Cleveland did not let those other guys go off. Mega MC3 says, beat down start to finish while dealing with terrible refs like usual. What's new? The refs just, I hate to use the refs as an excuse anytime, but clearly we're biased. We hate to see some of the calls go the way that they do. Connor Shylick says, getting some sponsors. Love it, Mac. I got to do what I got to do, man. Kirk Davis says, boss, you have to update your intro video soon. What did I say last time in that last stream? I was waiting for clips for DeAndre Hunter. I was waiting to have DeAndre Hunter in a Cavalier uniform. I already have the rest of the intro cooked up. I just needed his part finished before I could set it in motion. And now you will see that new intro as soon as the Cavaliers game on Wednesday night against the Toronto Raptors. I guarantee you that. Thank you for bringing that back up. Nate says, Hunter, Tyson, Okoro, Wade, Mobley. We got some crazy defenders. Absolutely. Crofty says 75% from three. D Jackson says Hunter had a solid 12 points. And yeah, 12. I thought it was 11. Either way, I thought that his debut went very well. Yeah, 12 points. Eric Costner says, you could tell the extra length is so helpful. Tyson being such a good rebounder is important too. We lack rebounding outside of Allen Mobley. It's especially important considering you don't have that true third big out there. We know Wade, we know Hunter, who's played 41% of his minutes at power forward this year prior to Jordan Cleveland. It's important to be able to have those guys. If you don't have the size, at least you have guys who go out there and give effort on the glass, especially the offensive glass. And Tyson is one of those guys. Chewy says, Hunter looked a little scared to be out there today. He would do so much better with more confidence as he plays more. I don't think he looks scared. I just think that it's his first game mid-season. It's not like he joined in the offseason and he's had time to develop chemistry over the course of a training camp or preseason or something like that. He joined mid-season, so he's just trying to see where he fits. Mega MC3 says Hunt made such a difference on both ends. People try to tell me he can't play defense. People try to tell me the same damn thing. When you're on this great of a team, your defense steps up. People forget he was a damn good defender in college. Defensive Player of the Year at the ACC, in the ACC division at the collegiate level. It is there. He is capable. He's athletic. He's got the length. What's not to love? I don't know how people thought that his defense could be any worse than Max Strus. And that's not saying Max is a bad defender, but I'm just saying I don't think his defense would have been a drop-off from Max. J47 says, Hunter looked great at the point of attack. I'd like to see how he fares against Tatum. So I posted the statistics earlier. I don't think I have the actual graphic with me anymore, but let me see if I can pull those up. He's actually held up very, very well against the likes of Jason Tatum, and he's done okay against Jaylen Brown, not necessarily as good. He has 14 when he has acted as Jaylen Brown's primary defender. He has limited, and I use that word loosely, to 14 of 30 from the field, which is 46.6%. When acting as Jaylen Brown's primary defender. Now, in terms of Jason Tatum, in 11 career matchups during the regular season, I got to put that caveat out there. And I'll tell you why in just a second. But Tatum is 23 of 56, which is a very good 41% from the field, including 9 of 30, which is 30% from three-point range. And against Tatum in the regular season. Now, that is a different story in the postseason. Jason Tatum has absolutely cooked. He has absolutely cooked the likes of DeAndre Hunter in the playoffs. But given it was a given it was a postseason series 2 years ago, people get cooked. It happens. Sometimes offense just beats defense. Sometimes you can play really good defense. Sometimes the offense is just even better. And in watching many of the clips, I literally watched all the defensive field goal attempts that DeAndre Hunter was credited with against the likes of Jason Tatum. All of them. And the one thing that was readily apparent to me is that he has the capability. He can stay in front of Jason Tatum. He does have the length to offer a proper contest. He does have good defensive instincts. And to me, I think that as long as he is, and there's a huge difference between playing defense in Atlanta and playing defense in Cleveland, right? Where you have a terrific backline of defense in Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. I think that if the team is going to need DeAndre Hunter to face off against Jason Tatum, and I don't know, right? Maybe they prefer Evan Mobley on Jason Tatum. Maybe they'll throw Dean Wade on Jason Tatum. Maybe they'll put DeAndre Hunter on Jaylen Brown. I don't really know how things are going to shake out, but I know that there will come a point, especially if these two teams meet in the Eastern Conference Finals or at whatever level in the playoffs. I do know there will come a point at which he will have to spend time defending both of them. I think that you need him to be able to do so, right? It's why you traded for him, essentially, so that he can offer you that. And I truly believe that he is the piece that's going to get the Cavaliers over the hump, and the hump being the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference. I think that is exactly why you acquired him, for matchups like that. Not the only team out there that presents an interesting challenge in terms of the wings that they have out there, but they're certainly at the top, right? Kokomo asks, any updates on Okoro and Wade? Both been out for a minute. Yeah, so according to Evan Damrell, the Cavaliers believe that they really needed to have Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro back out there right now, that they could suit up, but better to wait until the All-Star break, get them some extra days of rest, be cautious, because we know the injury histories, especially of Dean Wade. So I'm willing to bet you they'll probably both be back after the All-Star break. Absolutely no need to rush either back, especially when you look at the current slate of games that the Cavaliers have before the All-Star break. It's literally just the Toronto Raptors. If you need Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro back to beat the Toronto Raptors, you have a problem, considering that you just traded for DeAndre Hunter. So I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be okay in that regard. Floyd Phillips II says Cavs look good, need to play faster though. Too much walking the ball up, too much dribbling. Yeah, there are certain points, certain possessions when they can get lulled into playing like that. I think some of that has to do with them trying to get DeAndre acclimated. I think some of that has to do with them playing the other team style of play style. You saw a lot of ball stopping with Anthony Edwards and company, because Edwards is simply just counted on to score in isolation so much tonight. We'll see. We'll see, but I don't worry about them in that regard. Vino says, bro, I can't wait till we throw out the Spida, Okoro, Hunter, Wade, Mobley lineup. I can't either. This shit is going to be insane from a defensive standpoint. And all of these guys that are in this lineup are, at the very least, decent shooters. Spida being the best one out of the bunch, right? But Hunter has shown you this season that he is a viable marksman. Mobley, his three-point shot is finally come along. Okoro, before that injury, he was shooting basically 50% from the field. I mean 50% from three-point line. So you tell me, man, it's just awesome. Just absolutely awesome. JCBS says, do you have the clip of Okoro dribbling the ball and getting a tech? I'm sorry, I do not. I thought that was hilarious, but no, I do not. They could be out there. I'm telling you, Dean and Isaac could be out there, but they're just playing it cautious. And I think that's the best thing that they should be doing at this point in time. But yeah, it is going to be insane. Nate says, why do they replace AD with Kyrie? I'd be pissed. Congratulations to Kyrie Irving and Trae Young, I guess, for being the injury replacements for both Giannis and AD. But they are not the players that I would have chosen. You guys already know I'm biased. So I would have taken Jarrett Allen in place of Giannis. But there are certainly deserving candidates in the Eastern Conference that you can make a case for. Several, and Trae Young was definitely one of those. Franz is another. I know some Charlotte fan out there is probably going to bitch and say that LaMelo should have been given an opportunity. Nate also says, like, now we have no center. We have 3 players capable of playing the 5 right now. That is Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Tristan Thompson. If you do not acquire another big, you could very easily be pressed into having to give Tristan Thompson rotational minutes in the playoffs, which is not a good thing. Not a good thing. Either that or you're playing severely undersized with Dean Wade at the 5 or some shit like that. Lockdown Publication says, I just don't see that much in Tyson. He plays very nervous. Yeah, he hustles, but he does not look like a top rookie, period. We don't need him to be a top rookie. That's the thing. When a team is stacked the way that the Cavaliers are, you don't need him to do that much. He is just showcasing right now through his hustle on the defensive end, on the rebounds, that he can do what you need him to do right now. I don't care if Jaylon Tyson's a top rookie. I never really expected him to be this year. I never expected him to truly get the opportunities that he's gotten already. But he has stepped up and he has provided at the very least, and that's really all that I could ask from him. D. Jackson says he built for it. Momo says SGA and Don. Yeah. Nate says I meant no center in the all-star replacement. Oh, I got you. Christopher Burns says, get Evan a patent post move. He is a walking triple-double. I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you. When this dude locks in, when he decides I'm just going to score at all costs, I don't give a fuck who you put in my play, who you put in front of me, whether it's Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green, Wemby. He can do it all. He can facilitate. He can shoot that 3 ball. He can rebound. He can play defense. He can attack you in the post. He showed all of that tonight, man. All of that. It's awesome. Floyd Phillips II says, Mac, can you talk about re-signing Jerome? We cannot lose him. What's the 411? I can't, man. Honestly, I know the teams that are that have the cap space to outbid the Cavaliers right now, that is starting to dwindle, but I am not the source at all for anything cap related. There are a number of people out there that spend a lot of time doing so. Keith Smith, real Cavs fans, these are good. These are really, really good options to have in terms of figuring out the cap situation. But I'll tell you this, the Cavaliers at one point during the season, they were at risk of losing Ty Jerome because another team could simply just throw the bag at them. I'm not so sure that is the case anymore. Not a lot of teams have the cap space that I think Ty would find appealing enough to jump ship from a championship contending team. So we'll have to find out. Just being honest. Kirk Davis says, I watched your previous video and I agree we need Mo. Yeah, I mean, I would not be mad at a number of the available options in regards to who is available right now. But the problem is simply none of the options out there, including Mo, are really that great. They all have red flags. They all have flaws in various areas. And frankly, that's just the reality. Both Isaiah Mobley and Pete Nance were on that list, and that tells you everything you need to know about who's available right now. It truly does. But I think that's a great place to leave it off at tonight, man. I'm just so excited about what we saw from Hunter, and I think he can certainly build upon it. It wasn't a perfect debut, but it was a damn solid debut, and I got everything that I was hoping to see tonight. As always, tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot, set a review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you an invite. If you're watching over on X, like I know the majority of you are, do your boy a favor. Doesn't take too long. Go to YouTube. hit that like button, subscribe. So subscribe and hit that notification bell, all that good stuff. So you never miss out on post-game coverage. I've gone live after every game this season. I hope to continue that on Wednesday night against the Toronto Raptors. Go Cavs.